Wednesday, November 3rd, 2021, at the Bob Crowell Boardroom to order. Could you please call the roll, Danielle?
Chairperson Drews,
Here.
Vice Chair Schmitter, Commissioner Block,
Here.
Commissioner Hayes,
Here.
Commissioner Darney, Commissioner Smith, Commissioner Spielda, quorum is present.
Thank you, Danielle. Next item is public comment. Members of the public are invited to address the commission. Items that aren't specifically included on the agenda, we'll take no action on. If you'd like, you can do public comment now or wait till the item's heard, and we'll call for public comment again. Is there any public comment? Hearing none, we'll move to item number 4, approval of minutes from the October 14th, 2021 meeting. We have draft minutes before us. Everyone had a chance to review them?
So moved.
Second? All in favor? Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. The minutes are approved. Next item, meeting items, HRC 5A, HRC-2021-0385 for possible action. Discussion and possible action regarding a request for the construction of a detached garage and 40-foot concrete driveway on property zone single-family 6000 SF6, located at 216 Elizabeth Street, APN 003-192-15. Heather.
Thank you, Heather Ferris, for the record. The property is located on Elizabeth Street, approximately 100 feet north of West Musser. The home was constructed in 1935, and an attached garage was added sometime after 1941. The applicant is requesting approval to construct a detached single-car garage approximately 14.5 feet by 30 feet in size and a 40-foot-long concrete driveway to serve the garage. The garage will be constructed on the south side of a solid wood fence, creating the visual appearance that it's part of the property to the south located at 702 West Musser Street, which is also owned by the applicant. The garage will utilize black asphalt shingles and siding and paint to match the house and accessory structures located on the south side of the solid wood fence. Staff has found that the proposed detached garage is consistent with Carson City Historic District guidelines and policies and is recommending approval subject to the 4 conditions of approval included in your staff report. The applicants, Ron and Teddy Bartowski, are in attendance, and I'm available for questions.
Thank you, Heather. Commission member questions or comments of Heather or the property owners?
I just have one question relative to size. Was a trailer in the photo and a boat too, I think. Is that going to inhale the trailer or what? Or is
You need to introduce yourself for the record, Ron.
The trailer is just there temporarily, and after where the building is supposedly going to be built is right where the trailer is sitting right now. And the trailer, there'll be room in front of it if, like in the summertime, between trips and stuff, we want to park it there. It could fit in front of the garage on the 40-foot. The trailer's 28 feet long or something like that.
You need to introduce yourself for the record, Ron.
I'm sorry?
You need to introduce yourself for the record.
Okay, my name's Ron Bartkowski, and I'm the co-applicant of the
Thank you.
here.
Any other questions or comments?
Thank you.
I think it's a good location for it, so I don't have any issues.
I'm
I
sorry.
said I think it's a good location for the trailer, for the garage, so I think it
Thank
works
you.
well.
The The remodel looks great, by the way.
Thank you. Thank you.
Is there any other commission member questions or comments? Any public comment on this item? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion. I move to approve HRC 2021-0385 with the conditions of approval of the staff report for the addition of a single car garage and a 40-foot concrete driveway on the existing property at 216 Elizabeth Street.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second?
Any questions on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you guys for coming by.
Thank you.
Next item is 5B, HRC-2021-0394 for discussion only. Update on the status of the Ferris Mansion located at 311 West 3rd Street, APN 003-120-01. Heather.
Mr. Chair, I don't believe anybody is here representing the property owners for this item. You might want to move on to item 5C and then come back to this.
Okay. Anybody out there here for this item? All right, let's move on to 5C, HRC-2021-0393 for discussion only. Update on the status of the Brewery Arts Center steeple located at 501 West King Street, APN 003-207-06. Heather.
Thank you, Heather Ferris, again for the record. On January 14th, 2021, the HRC considered a request for exterior work to the buildings and grounds at the Brewery Arts Center. The HRC approved the re-roof and denied removal of the cross and louvers and requested additional information on the trash enclosure and exterior lighting. Then at your September 9th meeting, you requested staff provide an update on the status of the work at the Brewery Arts Center, specifically related to the steeple. On September 28th, the Brewery Arts Center staff provided a memo, which is included in your packet, outlining the progress made regarding the steeple louvers. Mike Winnick with Brewery Arts Center is here and able to provide you with any additional information, answer questions, and I'm also available for questions.
Thank you, Heather. Commission member questions? Comments? We just got the November 1st letter, if you all had a chance to review that.
I had one question about the non-functioning louver. Louvers. I mean, one of the issues with louvers in a tower like that is that they do have a function for ventilation, and so if there's a plan for, if it's going to stay enclosed, if there's a plan for some kind of ventilation from the downstairs through the steeple.
We were going to leave that up to the designer, but he said that there is a way that he could put vent holes in behind the piece that he would be installing that would mimic the look of the louvers.
I'm more interested in the function of the, yeah. So as I understand from the newest piece, you would do louvers and you would attach them to the panels, the solid panels that are there right now.
Yes, ma'am.
And so he's able to either drill or screen that piece of wood before he puts the louver panel on?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that
He'd be
how
able to
it
do
will
that.
work? Okay. All right. That wasn't clear in the package, so I'm glad to hear that.
Okay.
Any other commission member questions or comments?
I only had the same concerns that make sure that it was a ventilated space, but the building department actually should also confirm that at some point.
Yeah, we were going to try to contact someone at the building department to find out exactly what they would require to be, what size, what shape for the ventilation for that space. So we're going to need clarification on that from them.
Yeah, because I'm sure there's not just the little square up on top that it's ventilating. There's probably more space below that. So
It's a really large.
they'll help you with that, yeah.
Ventilate the entire thing, or just what
Mhm.
needs to be there. We'd want to make the opening as small as possible, just to keep penetrations and moisture and things like that.
Exactly, right. Mold, that's the big problem here. So, but otherwise, I like your sketch. I think it's fine.
Heather, do we need to have this come back before, or have another application for this, or?
So, yeah, at this point, they do not have approval. So they would need to come forward with another application at the time that they're ready to install. And it can either be approved administratively or come back to the full commission.
Okay.
I have a
Any
question.
problem with it being administrative?
Mikey, when you say modern materials, what were you guys thinking?
We're not sure exactly what exact materials he'd be using, whether it would need, and that's something we were gonna get some clarification from the building department of what type of material is required to use. Whether it needs to be pressure treated or marine grade, or could it be plaster, could it be, plastic? We're not really sure. We haven't gotten a lot of direction on exactly what is allowed or required up there, so this is just kind of the initial design phase that Eric Evans, our project manager, is working on for that. He couldn't be here tonight to present, but those are his drawings and ideas for it. He's a custom fabricator, and the man can create just about anything to look exactly like anything he wants to. So I'm confident that it's going to look very, very similar to what was here.
And just looking at the 1949 picture, the louvers do look like, before the brick was added onto the facade, that the louvers did like they're the kind of the dimensional size of the windows that are in front now.
Yeah, they're almost exactly, the measurements that we have are almost exactly to the size of the windows that are at, down at the normal level of the building. So we'll be able to mimic and copy and mold from the same mold and trim. Our goal is to make all the molding look exactly as close as possible to what's there now. So that's why we need some clarification from building department on exactly what type of material it would have to be made of.
So coming from this board, what kind of materials would we allow? Obviously not vinyl, but, is it painted fiberglass? Is it metal clad wood? What direction can we give them for that?
I would say not plastic or vinyl, and it's probably cost prohibitive to go with metal clad or anything like that. So a nice wood product, whether it's treated or marine grade, something like that, would probably be the most practical solution and cost effective.
I'd agree with that.
And just on a side note on that, the other projects that you guys have approved for us to do, I don't know if you guys have been by the buildings recently, but they're phenomenal. The lighting that we've done has increased safety and security at just everything on the entire building, inside and out. We've made some seriously huge upgrades, and we're just tickled. I wish you could see how much I'm smiling. Talk about what we're doing on these buildings. It really is phenomenal transformation that they've undergone just in the past year and a half.
Excellent.
I can see it in your eyes. Just to update the commission, the lighting was minimally changed. We did it administratively. Mikey submitted another application with some different style lights, so we approved that. And also, there was an approval for the windows in the front of the building.
Right, and the lighting that we were putting over the two doorways on Division Street, we had talked at length about how we were gonna go conduit for that, keeping it from running through the brick, we were gonna run through the mortar. We had all these plans of what we were trying to do, and the plan was to run inside the building, across the ceiling, down through where the window opening is, and try to somehow attach to the metal and bring it up the brick. When the electricians actually got up there and started investigating, they found wiring already there in the brick, live, which really alarmed us. He stuck his tester up there and we're like, okay. So we had sent a memo to you folks that you approved the change of how we could attach to that. And if you get a chance at the end of this meeting tonight, when you drive by, take a drive down Division Street, as that whole front of that building has completely transformed. So it's really awesome. And it's all LED too, so.
Right on.
All right. Any other questions of Mike regarding the steeple? Okay,
good.
thank you for bringing this
Mike?
to us, Mike, and go ahead and submit an app, when you're ready, go ahead and submit an application. And I think we could probably do it administratively. We have the drawings that look okay, and
Yeah, I don't have any problem
we'll
with that.
pay special attention to the ventilation and should be good to go. Okay, thank you.
Cool. Thanks, Mike.
Todd, do I need to call for public comment on discussion only?
No, on discussion only. You don't need to call for public comment.
Thank you. Move back to HRC 2021-0394. Someone here from Ferris? Good.
I believe so. I'll give a brief introduction. Heather Ferris again for the record. At your September 9th, 2021 meeting, you requested staff to provide an update on the status of the work being conducted at the Ferris Mansion located at 311 West 3rd Street. In 2019, the property owner received approval from HRC to convert the structure from an office use into a single-family residence. After this approval, the owner obtained a building permit for the conversion and started work. However, only one inspection has been completed according to our records. I believe Tatiana Jensen is here, and she's one of the owners of the property, and I'm available for questions. I do have a couple of recent pictures as well.
Thank you, Heather. Would you like to come up and, I think commission members probably have some questions about the status of the remodel and timelines? Need to introduce yourself for the record.
My name is Tatiana Jensen.
Commission member questions or comments?
Well, I mean, some of this was generated by observing the plywood in the back, at the back of the building, which is visible to the public, kind of dealing with those windows in some way. And I was like, well, okay, where are we going with this? It's like not looking good enough, just in general reaction. So that's where it kind of started.
Okay, I can give you a rundown of kind of like how, what's been done and how it ended up looking like that from the previous owner to us. So when we bought it, it was an office building for a number of businesses. Had been held by brokers. And it had undergone some kind of rehab like in 2004 or something. But the HVAC and was like a big problem. And there were other big problems. It had one kit shower bathroom, but all the other bathrooms were just commode. So when we converted it, we hired Robert Darney to do the design. And through him, Friedland, Swenningson Construction. So they started the work, and that did not go well. It was $209,000. And part of it was taking out the windows, which you can now see are the kitchen windows, okay? So those new windows are the area that will be a kitchen. The physical windows that were taken out are inside the house and are in rather good shape considering they've been cleaned up by the Ibsen Construction Brothers. And so they've been trying to, so Friedland took them off. Ibsen's been trying to restore the windows and clean them up. They look like they could be used. And I think when Heather gives you her update, we can talk about some of the places where they could be used on the property. The wall itself is actually much better than it looks from the outside, because from the inside, it was that foam spray. So it's like a hard wall. And it's structurally amazing, the difference that and the new subfloor has done to the house. Remarkable. The two entryways that are more historic have new tile, and that has also helped the structure. And the floor in the whole house is being replaced, and the floor that's going in is the LPV clicket in zones that can easily be replaced if there were some damage, some flooding, like the last flood, the water came up to, but it didn't actually hit the house. But if it did, you could replace it. Inside the changes is like, it changes the, excuse me, that, again, back to that wall, that's like the kitchen area. And so to the right is like a pantry area and a half bath and like a mud room entry in the front, which would be like what the previous owners called the apartment, because a sister-in-law lived there. Okay, so now we're at the alleyway, not at this picture. So what happens to this window, to this wall? Other people know more than I do about that, and I'm sure you have ideas about it. The house is getting painted next year, we hope, after the work on the inside gets done. I think I'll leave it to Mr. Ibsen to talk to you about what materials and how that wall gets fixed and the painters paint it. The colors are staying the same. So it's just like protective measures. On the other side, this wall is what used to take the brunt of the weather. So this wall really needs the good paint for the weather. The other walls are not as bad, but do have some damage. And that window that they had to put in the bathroom, the now bathroom, that was very costly to fix what went wrong with the Friedlands. Again, you talk to Mr. Ibsen about that. The window is in, same thing, they're gonna do whatever they need to do for the outside to make it look the same. As I understand it, there's another piece that needs to happen like that in the front for the venting when the hood from the kitchen gets put in. And then there's the issue of I don't want to call it the apartment because my husband doesn't want to call it the apartment. So the third bedroom that would be what used to be the apartment. And the only, again, Mr. Ibsen will give you more information and Ms. Ferris has information on this, but as I understand it, the outside looks the same, but the roof changes to be like a pitch. So from inside, it helps with the snow. So right now there's like a flat roof that collects snow. So it'd be like high, a little bit higher, and then it pitches down. But looks the same as the rest of the house roof. And that like is probably like $60,000 to $80,000. So we think we can do that also next year with the painting. The idea being that this year, that would be not very much, right? The Ibsens can put in the bathrooms and the kitchen, which we finally got the kitchen stuff for. That's basically it. Oh, the outside, okay. Again, we were told that the water had to be cut off because of the construction. So the water was cut off. Also, the area that you see here, part of that new application is putting a driveway on Division because the house needs more and better parking. It gets really crowded with the cars whenever there's anything downtown. So we have the one small parking space on, again, this sort of alleyway, but you couldn't fit like a truck in there. And my husband has a truck, of course. So the idea is that this actually becomes a driveway. And that would be, we're thinking some kind of like red brick, like the house next door. So, yeah, that's basically the plan and what's going on. I'll just take one more minute to tell you that we are living in Florida for the most part for health reasons. And the house is staying in the family. But I don't think it's going to be our family home in the foreseeable future. So the good people from up the street will help us to put it in a family, whatever it needs to be in. And the plan is it stays residential, stays in the family. We're not thinking of selling it. But I don't want to rule out making it income generating, including like filming. It's going to be really beautiful when it's done inside. So, but it is a private residence. So we don't want, a lot of people knock on the door and want to come in. We've even had people come in when we didn't like lock the door. So yeah, that's the plan. It stays in the family. I don't think it'll be my husband's permanent resident. Again, at least for the foreseeable future, we're in Florida. So
I guess our real concern is we've been looking at that unfinished back wall for over a year.
yeah,
You've changed contractors now. We had an application. We actually worked somewhat closely with that contractor and knew where we were going on all this. And we haven't seen any movement. We're concerned about infiltration and
I would say that
scheduling.
Yeah, I would say with all due respect that a big part of why we ended the relationship with that contractor is because the house belongs to us, and it always has. At no time was there any form of ownership by the contractor or claim to, and yet the representations and the work, the physical impact on the house doesn't match that. So we spent the money to correct what that person misinterpreted. I will leave that to be very open and generous. Okay? And the house is a family house. We converted it from office back to house. So there's not like, there were like 17 utility connections when we bought the house. So those have all been corrected. There's not 17 utility connections coming in anymore.
So can you tell me when the work around the windows might be completed and if it's going to match
Yeah, so
what's there?
It's going to match exactly what's on the other side. So the side that's on South Division and the side that the new side look exactly the same once it's done. As I understand it, the same people that finished that out finished the front where the stove hood goes. That just literally just came in last week, and I think we ordered that, I don't know, maybe 3-4 months ago, and pay for it. So, we have like for example, we don't have a stove, so we're trying to figure out like what we're gonna do for that. But it kind of ended up being, okay, well, let's get the hood in. And based on that, you could tell me what size stove I can put in and whatnot. So it's kind of been like that. And we've taking our time. I think it's not unrealistic to say that a 3 to 5 year timeline to finish the house is reasonable considering the scope of the work and the amount of money that we put in and the availability of reliable contractors around. And the materials problem is a real problem.
Is there a way, at least for the exterior appearance, that we can push that up? Because right now it looks blighted. And
Well, I think blighted is a real, has a legal definition, you know? And so a historical home that was purchased for $385,000 where the owners have invested $300,000 more to convert it from an office to a family home would not fall within like what blighted is. But I don't have an answer to when. I mean, as I understand it, you're part of like who determines what materials can be used for that wall to be fixed. So,
that was all approved before. And what we're looking at now is windows removed, windows replaced, and everything stopped. We're also looking at irrigation turned off.
yes, and,
And,
this, and it's going
and
to stay turned off.
there's a direct effect to the neighboring properties when
Oh,
a property looks like that.
you know,
So what we're hoping is that we can get at least the exterior of this house put back together. It's an important house in Carson City. It's a
Okay.
very important house.
yeah.
And it's just a concern to us that it's been sitting like this for over a year, and now you're telling me it could be 3 to 4 years before we're done. And I don't know if that's acceptable. It certainly isn't for your building permit. It certainly isn't going to carry on for 3 or 4 years. And now you're talking about driveways. We probably need to revisit the original approval to
You
see if
wanna
that even
weigh in on
works.
this because
Heather Ferris again for the record. So Ms. Jensen met with me earlier this summer and indicated that she was going to submit an additional application for some revisions to what had been approved previously. We have not received an application so far, so I can't really comment on exactly what those changes would be.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I remember
no,
the original
I
project.
think Mr. Darney should weigh in more. I mean, nothing in what he drew up for the house and you approved has changed. So, as I understood it from him, and he could set me straight if I'm saying this wrong. This wall was always going to be the last part.
We don't have a problem with the windows being replaced or anything with that wall. The problem we have is it's been sitting in this condition for a long time. And 2 years ago, that was a beautiful property. And
Okay.
yet it had 17 tenants. It was used as a commercial business.
And
It had
there was a
some issues.
pandemic in the ensuing time. And I mean, there was an 18-month pause, at least for those of us who have people with respiratory illnesses and are greatly limited to how we get to go about getting back to life. Okay, so 2 years ago, yeah, life was really different for me 2 years ago. My house looked a lot better. It had furniture inside. It was very comfortable. My family used to enjoy Christmas there.
What would
It's
it,
no longer that case. Yet I pay my property tax bill on time. I continue to invest in the rehab of the house. And Mr. Darney can tell us again at what point the wall was scheduled to be fixed up was when certain work got done. That work hasn't gotten done, and how that work gets approved. Ms. Ferris, you know, she needs a new permit. Okay, well, that involves a new architect, and a new structural engineer. And so those things are being prepared.
We have an approved project. Mr. Dorney's just the architect. He's not the contractor. The approval that we had was to replace those windows, replace the siding, and bring that back to the look of that facade. What would it take to get those windows finished, or the trim around those windows finished, and get the property into a condition where the water can be turned back on, and we could kind of try to bring back some landscaping?
Yeah, at the rate that things are going, where you have like materials, 12, 16 weeks out, and the appliances, the time that it took, I would say that 18 months is I mean, again, you have to ask the contractor, okay? So when she gets the permit application, the guys that are doing it, we just paid like a $12,000 bill for it, okay? So whenever they get to sending you the paperwork, then those people, I'm sure, can give you an answer. I am like a lawyer by profession, and here a property owner trying to preserve a home that stays in my family. And I feel a little bit like you're attacking me, calling my house blighted, and being a little bit unreasonable. But, I'm entitled to my opinion, and, you're an elected official or
Well, I don't,
appointed, or however this board works. And so I'm just saying that,
I can't see.
I didn't come here to argue. I came here to try to be helpful. I don't know, and I am not a qualified person to tell you how or when that thing happens. I'm the person that pays the cash for that to happen. So I can tell you at the rate I'm going and the money that I do have dedicated to this, like 2-3 years to me sounds reasonable. And,
Do you see our point, though? And I wish
Yeah,
Don
can I make
Smith.
one comment?
Well, let me finish. I wish Don Smith, our contractor, was here, because it seems to me that you could have Mr. Ebsen come out and, I'm looking at those two windows and the siding, and I can't see that that's much more than about 3 days worth of work to replace that siding, put the trim on the windows, and clean that
I
up.
don't know that. I am so the wrong person to even say anything about that. I don't know anything about it. Again, I am someone who's married to someone who fell in love with this house, and this house is getting restored as far as my family's legacy, and that's what I'm here doing. But I don't know. That's part of how it cost me $209,000 to figure out that Mr. Friedland was not doing what he was telling me, or what my invoices were telling me was happening, okay?
From
So it took me a minute to figure that out. So once I figured that out and started putting an inordinate amount of time into learning what it all means to actually rehab a house, Mr. Ibsen has been very good to get the house to what it needs to look like, including stabilizing the foundation and all these structural issues, whatnot. Okay. Just like the gentleman before me, because it's a very old house, things like getting the place and the stuff where your kitchen hood is gonna vent out, it's a very cumbersome and expensive thing. Okay. The same guy that puts the boards back on that side and the same guy that closes the window is the guy that fixes that wall. That's what I understand. Okay. Again, as I understand it, economies of scale, that I'm good at. I can project manage. I've been managing this one. So it makes sense that when that guy comes out, he does all that. That I understand to be right before the house gets painted all together. Okay? That's what I understand. How close am I to that? I haven't even seen an estimate on the paint. So I hope that this trip that I'm here this whole week, I'm gonna get that. I hope also that I'm going to get the application that Ms. Ferris needs, okay? Which I had met with her and told her I was gonna try to do for this session, this meeting. That didn't work, obviously, right? Okay. So I hope that's all there so that I can get the budget and find out. I'm telling you, if you think he can just come and do it from what I'm seeing, that doesn't sound reasonable. It doesn't really sound even doable. Nobody seems to be able to do anything just like that. Just my experience.
Can you understand our frustration with a house that's listed on the National Register, is sitting in the Carson City West Side Historic District, and hasn't, we haven't had anything done to it. It's being worked on, and it's in a state of disrepair until
Mr.
until we get this completed
Okay,
3 or
Mr.
4
Drews,
years from now. And
I'm
it's
gonna
just
be-
frustrating to us
Yes, well,
that
I'm going to be completely honest with you. I cannot relate to what it is like to think about what a family has devoted more than $500,000 to, that overall has improved, is structurally more sound, has new electricity, new plumbing, at lower risk for flooding, a number of other things, and call it blighted because the grass isn't
I
green.
apologize. I
can't
apologize
believe that
for
one.
calling it blighted, but our frustration is that it was a beautiful house when you bought it. You've done the work you've done on it
It's a
is
beautiful house.
great. Bringing
It's a
bringing that
beautiful
stuff
house.
up to
It's
code,
gonna stay a
making it
beautiful
work
house.
is great.
I don't know
But-
when this can get done. I don't know what the material stuff are. I'm the wrong person to ask. I'm telling you the answer I can give you, which is financially, how does this flow out? How does this work? It's on a 2-3 year timeline, which includes getting it painted and all this other stuff. But I'm doing the best I can. And I feel like, 18 months of this has been the pandemic. No, I don't think it's,
I th-
crisis level.
I think that we're glad that you could be here tonight just to answer some questions, and I'm sorry if it sounded badgering, but it was our frustration not knowing what was going on, so that's why we were asking those questions, and I understand the reasons for the delay, and I'm glad that you're interested in finishing it. We've also seen projects in the district, in town. We've had some bad experiences with people that get started in a project and then they stop and then it never gets done. And then the house is really a loss. So that's maybe where we're coming from.
I
But
hear
it's nice
you.
to know that you're still interested in saving it and you want to keep it as your home and finish it. So that was
it's
our
staying the
desire.
family home. If things were not the way they are, we would be living in the house. It's just not really in the realm of my immediate family for that to happen. That's just simply not going to happen. And for the larger family, because a big part of what we put in there is what we're trying to leave to our child. It's hard to say, I would want that house if I was him. But, he's got other ideas of where he lives and how he lives. And the extended family, same thing. That said, the home is beautiful inside. It's been restored. It's got a place for a lot of things from, my husband and I are immigrants, Americans, but immigrants. And so there is generations of stuff from places and, far away, that have made our family. So it's a beautiful home, the outside, it's going to get fixed. I don't know, again, Ryan can tell you all that. And, we like the plaque in the front. There's a little bit more traffic than we thought really was. We didn't really understand when we got it what it all really meant. So, I know some people have put up fences and, generally we'd be opposed to that, but some of it sort of becomes a necessity too, because there are people who just like walk up to the house. So, the driveway, I think it's a necessity. Again, back to it being a family house, one of the things that's happening is these stairs in the back, as you can see, are falling apart, right? And there's no ADA compliance, anything in those things. So Ryan can tell you, but basically the stairs, instead of coming this way, come out to like a platform and go out to the sides, so that one can be a ramp.
I don't think we can comment on that because we haven't seen it in a.
Okay, well, that's part of
package,
what, again,
um,
Heather
I
needs
think-
to work with Ryan on. So, but, again, it's a historical house, but at the same time, we have lots of historical houses in the West Side where there's a ramp because there's a family member that needs to get in
Yeah.
with some help.
Again, we can't really comment on that part of the project. We were just interested in the status
Okay.
of this one, so I think we've covered that.
Yeah.
Unless you have another.
And I would just go ahead and say that's one of the things in my family that like has become an issue. So like we need some kind of accessibility on there's like 4 doors, but one of them does have to be accessible.
We can work with you
Yeah.
on all of that. That's, I mean,
I'm sure.
when we started this project, we went out of our way to make sure that you were gonna get, and I've been in the house when Friedlands were working on it, and it's absolutely beautiful. You've done a great job. But
It looks 10
it
times
was
better.
it's just our concern
It looks 10
about,
times better. The house is gonna get done. I feel like I just came, after seeing it for like 2 months. I think the inside gets done this year as possible. And so early next year for the painting and this thing, I think that's doable. And then this driveway business, he did tell me that he needs some kind of studying and I don't know what else. And she did tell me also that there's a process for that. But again, that's an accessibility issue. And also the house as a family house is a 3-bedroom, 3-bathroom house. So one parking space makes it really hard. Okay.
I just a general comment that I think where we're trying to go here is to make a point that the whole project isn't what we're interested in getting finished. What we're looking at is hearing that maybe we can put a priority on finishing the windows and getting the water turned back on. That's really it, because we don't really have a purview on the inside. So whether or not it takes 6 months to get a oven or something shouldn't affect having someone come and finish the trim on the window. And I think that's the simple, in a nutshell, kind of what we're after.
And I think theoretically that sounds really good, but the reality is the guy who schedules the person to come out and put in your appliance is the same guy that's interested in doing your trim. And so you can't get in that guy's schedule whenever you want it, because that's just not the way it is. Mr. Friedland painted it as everything could get done and whatever, like nothing ever really happened like that. Ryan is less promising, but more delivery. And so if sometimes, I have to wait for the guy to come out, to me, it's worth it. It's getting done. The house is moving along and I'm spending half the money.
What I would just like to say is that we'd like to ask you to ask him to make it more of a priority of the finishing of the windows on the outside,
Yeah.
so that he knows that it's a priority. So it's not just, we'll get to it eventually kind of a mentality. I think that's all we're trying to say.
I
Thank you.
mean, I think money could fix that, but again, I'm trying to like make the budget work for the long haul and
Can I
Yeah.
make a comment?
Yeah.
I don't think we'd be sitting here right now today if the irrigation hadn't been turned off and the lawn was dead and everything else. The windows are part of it, but the irrigation is really important. And when you turn off the irrigation, and the three other houses in that block are still look beautiful, they didn't turn off their irrigation. Turning the irrigation on isn't a big thing. There's a number of us that have been in historic preservation and have gone through the toils and torments and have spent over $800,000, at least on my house, but that's not what the commission's about here. We're not concerned with money or anything, but the outside appearance of it looks maybe not blighted, but it looks a little shabby compared to everything else. And if you could talk to your contractor and get the irrigation turned back on, so at least it was green on the outside, I think that would be a huge step, because so many of us, there's a couple right behind you that put so much time and effort into this without turning the irrigation off. Yes, it is a financial burden. Yes, we've gone through a pandemic. Yes, we have health concerns. I even got a new stick so I can walk. But if you could talk to your contractor and at least get the irrigation on before anything else dies, I think we wouldn't be sitting here right now.
Okay, to be clear, it was Mr. Friedland who turned off the irrigation. So let me just,
And I understand he's gone now that you fired your contractor, so you have another guy on the thing. But to me, as much money and time and effort and everything that people are putting into the district, if you could get the irrigation on and just make it have some life outside, I think that would be fine. And that, compared to the whole project, that is just the tip of the iceberg. I know it's not that much money to turn on irrigation. The water bills aren't that much, but it would make a difference with the neighbors and the surrounding people that do water their irrigation. We have the ghost walk that goes on. They come by and they stand out in front of your house, and it's a showpiece of the district, and it's on the West Side Historic District. I'm really sorry all the things that you're going through, and I'm sorry that you've had to move to
Okay,
Florida for health
listen.
concerns, but if we could get the irrigation on, that would make the place look a lot better.
okay, look, the water is not cheap in this town. I want to say the water bill when the irrigation was on was somewhere around $400 a month. So,
And that's pretty reasonable where I live.
wow, okay. So that's like minimum wage at $10 an hour or something for a week, okay? So another thing is the conservation people. You have your views about the water being green. There's other people that have their other views about what lawns and proper landscaping is. There must be some happy medium, okay? I understand there's a visual easement. I don't know that irrigation is going to be the ultimate answer. So I don't think that making that grass, that area going to grass is the foreseeable use of that side of the house. Landscape, yes, but grass, I don't think so. There's a number of people around the neighborhood. I mean, I've looked around. Again, I'm thinking more like happy medium, not zero, but not green grass. So, again, I don't know what that's gonna look like. Yeah. Okay. Okay, and I can agree to include in what Ms. Ferris will be getting, what that would be.
Okay.
So,
Just, I mean, this isn't the committee, I'm sorry, the commission saying, gee, we have a problem here. I know people come up to Jed, this is a small town.
Yeah, yeah.
People know us. People come up on the street and say, God, what's going on with the Ferris Mansion?
okay,
And we just needed some information.
okay,
All the things you're talking about, we can work through community development and get that going, get you
Okay,
on
so-
track.
so we
we
can-
can get you what you want.
okay, so we can agree that in the permit application that Ms. Ferris needs, which will include changing the roof and the area of the former apartment to be called the third bedroom, or whatever ends up being called.
When you do that application,
Okay, when you-
put
when-
put your wish list in it.
Okay, because when you look over here at this photo that's up in front of you, I don't know if it's up in front of you. The area that we're talking about includes some windows, right? They're not really windows, they're just glass. So I assume that I am free to change that unless you tell me right now that I am not. When you say the historical windows, you're talking about the windows that came out that are in the kitchen windows, right? Okay,
All the windows in that house, with the exception of the two new ones, are considered historic windows. And we'd like to keep
so
them.
is the glass, do you see what I'm talking about?
So we can't take action on anything tonight because we don't have an application in front of us. So this is just a discussion. So any proposal that you have to remove windows or panes of glass or anything like that need to be included in your application so that any exterior modifications to the home are included in that application for the commission's review at the time that you get that application into us.
Okay,
Our perspective,
okay,
the old parts of the house, the old windows are part of the historic character of that house, and we'd like to retain them.
but didn't you approve
and-
for those
and-
windows to be put in there?
Pardon?
Didn't you approve for these windows to be put in there?
Yeah, we worked with you and your contractor to have those done. We understood the need, we saw the condition of the windows, and we agreed that, yeah, it's on the backside of the house. We can do that. And I mean, we're more than happy to work with you on this.
Okay.
And that's why I'm saying, get your wish list in this new application. Tell us what you'd want to do. We'll work with you and figure out how to make the product the best for you and satisfy the character of the district too. So our concern was just,
And what about the fences he wanted in that application too?
She just asked about a fence. So yes, any fence, the changes to the driveway, those are exterior modifications, so those should all be included.
So in one
And if they're
application.
not included, then you can include them in a separate application in the future.
Okay, so we can agree to that, and let's hope that Mr. Ibsen can get that like before the end of the year.
Yeah, so the next
our
meeting
next meeting is January.
is
I
in
believe.
January, yeah. The
So-
date escapes me at the moment.
Okay. So see, my timeline is not unreasonable.
I-
You know?
I mean, when I hear 3 to 4 years to get siding on those windows and clean it up, that to me is, I think we can work with that and get that pushed up a little. Same with the irrigation, but I would just like us to work together to get this.
You know,
It's
I
really
tried.
hard to do a construction project.
I tried the way of just the free line did it and just pay him and whatever, and it never happened. It just got out of control. That's how the house ended up looking the way it did. So, you know, this has gone slower, but the house is in much better shape. And this landscaping business, I mean, I don't know, I really didn't know about it. I guess I just assumed that a house under construction would not have a landscaping requirement. That didn't really occur to me at all. So, you know, I will see to it that he puts in the design. And, you know, he's talked about a construction fence before. So maybe we put a construction fence and that lets the neighbors know that it's not blighted, that it's like being worked on.
A construction fence may do more harm than good, actually, if we.
I mean, I figured
If
that
we have a construction fence up for 4 years,
I didn't think we needed
that's-
one, but I
No,
mean,
that's gonna make the
you know,
neighborhood look even worse. Greg, did you have a comment?
yeah.
I just wanted to comment, I have a historic home about a block and a half away from the Ferris Mansion and from 1865, the original part. And, you know, and it's been a challenge to do a lot of things inside. And it's
Yep.
taken years. But I've tried to keep the outside, what the public sees when they walk by on these walks that were alluded to or whatever, going around the historic district, taking a look at the interesting structures, you try to keep it in decent shape, including the landscaping, et cetera. Meanwhile, realizing that all kinds of stuff behind the scenes, what they can't see on the inside, is inhaling money and taking a long, long time to get right. Just is the nature of the beast in these old historic homes. I mean, you know, the folks that worked on my remodel said it would be cheaper to tear this down and build a new one. They said, well, we're not doing that. That's not the plan here, but it's expensive and it takes time. And I'm
takes
just
a long
sharing that
time.
what we're here for, what we deal with is what the public sees when they drive by or walk by or whatever. And we're trying to keep things in good shape at that level, you know, just even though there might be all kinds of challenges that they don't see.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that's partly why some of the houses that we've been looking around, some of the landscapings that we've been looking around in some of the historical houses look very commercial because it's hard to keep up, you know. So I think, you know, my husband's idea when we were living in the house. The house was beautiful and people would always stop by and comment on it. And I would love for that to be the case too, but it's not right now. And I don't have anyone in the family who cares enough to live in it to make it look pretty all the time. I hear you, it'd be my house too, but I just can't do it right now. And, yeah, I'm happy with what's going on. I feel like the structure came under real danger and it was saved. And structurally is impressive what has happened. And hopefully, again, Miss Ferris, she's easy to work with. We can just get the stuff that she needs for the last phase and get this apartment, third bedroom thing up. And with that, also finish the outside and put in that driveway and some kind of landscape in that front corner. I hear what you're saying, but not grass. Maybe something, more flowers or, something.
You're right. There can
Yeah.
be it can be lots of things, but I'd like to see a priority placed on improving what the public sees. And by the way, I do believe once upon a time, not too many years back, there was a fence around, a permanent fence, I think a picket fence.
It was a white picket fence.
And I would like to see something approximating what was there brought
tell
back
you-
to life too.
yeah,
I
yeah,
put
no,
that on
no.
the wish list because that's the way it used
I
to
saw
look.
that. Yeah, the colors are staying the same. You're talking about like the Library of Congress pictures. I like it. The colors are staying the same. I think maybe if anything, just that silver brighter. They have the more that gray. They have the shinier kind of gray that looks better now and protects more, something like that. But the house exactly the same. I was thinking more like I like the brick fence next door, where it's like a little low fence. It's not really a fence, it's like a little wall. Because since we were thinking of doing brick for the driveway,
Let's
Yeah.
let's get your plans together, get them submitted, and we could take a look at it and put things
Yeah.
that you'd like. We can discuss it.
yeah.
We can discuss it then.
But I
And
hear you
then-
on the white picket fence. I just,
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
what we're concerned about is the condition of the landscaping and window or a side of the
Yes,
house
and
that
this wall.
hasn't been finished for a while. And just how can we move that along so that it looks like it's buttoned up and we're close to the original look is all.
Okay.
Okay?
And I would just like to say that I think in general, people here are very welcoming. We've, felt okay. So I'm really surprised to hear that my neighbors would be going around complaining about because the neighbors that I do know personally are lovely people who have been very, very good, especially since being neighbors, they know why, we're not in town. And so, yeah. So I just want to say that. Do you need anything else from me?
Any public comment?
Any other commission member comments? Again, if we can just work together to try to get things buttoned up and looking a little better, I think that'd go a long way. And that's, it'll keep people in the district, people walking through the district saying, wow, this house is beautiful without any qualifications.
I don't think there's anyone who wants that more than me because this is not a project that I chose to take on. But I've spent at least a year asking how is that going to get done and when is that going to get done? So I just don't want to, I don't want to be here and tell you, oh yeah, I can go get that done. I think 2 years is reasonable, but I will tell him that it needs to happen sooner. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
Next item is staff reports, discussion only. Heather?
I don't have any reports. The next meeting is scheduled for January 13th.
Member reports, comments?
I just have one comment. Well, Don's not here, but we talked about, I'm blanking on the name of the office building, South Minnesota and West Third Street, a lovely brick office building that with the commission, the counties, I don't forget the name of their title too, but the group that's all the counties together, that organization. Anyhow, we put in and we talked briefly about it a long time ago now, a disabled, handicap ramp sort of thing, which is right in the front, and they put a very utilitarian steel pipe sort of thing in. And the suggestion was, and Don agreed with this sort of thing, to plant something in front of that. In other words, if you let a little hedge grow up slightly higher than the metal thing you're gripping, if you need it as a disabled person, it would disappear from the view of the street, from Minnesota Street. But nothing's been done. It's only a block away from my house, and I think that needs an update too. It's like, all it would take was just a hedge of, something simple like that to soften that utilitarian and very unhistoric look.
I can't remember when we had that before us, I can't remember if that was a condition of approval or if that was just a suggestion. And
I know we talked about it, but and it'd be a simple solution, something planted and masking.
One of the things that I think Hope and I had talked about, and Heather, you might consider too, is we get these applications in, and there's really no sign off at the end. People do their work, and we're done with it. Maybe we need to consider some kind of a final sign off or something to make sure that our conditions have been met and that the project has been completed the way we expected it to be done. I mean, it's a little more work, and it'll be more work for the chairman or vice chair, but I think it might be worth it to just make sure that we can bring these things to conclusion.
Yeah, I agree. Something you just tick it off, say, okay, yeah, that happened, et cetera.
Any other or any future agenda items? Next meeting is January 13th. So is there any public comment regarding anything? We can talk about the weather. Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
favor,
Aye.
we're unanimously adjourned.